I'm Peggy Herson.
I'm Scott Clark.
I'm Rick Entrop.
And we are coming to you from the coffee shop. We have a special guest with us today.
I'm Christopher.
Christopher Kraus. It's our nephew, Rick and Mai's nephew.
You go by CC?
It's CK.
CK?
Uh-huh.
Wow, that's even cooler.
It's very fancy.
Yeah.
He's been up for the weekend because we tried to go to the Kelly Clarkson Maroon 5 concert at the Gorge, and it got canceled. So basically, we've just been hanging out.
Now you're crushed forever. You're gonna need therapy.
I know.
How are you going to bounce back?
It was a little sad.
You might have questions about now your sexual orientation because
Because of a love of Kelly Clarkson?
yeah. Yes, I mean the
Didn't get to see Kelly Clarkson.
Yeah,
She came out on stage, apologized.
She said words and then left. And we were all like,
she like said stuff.
Yeah.
We still didn't make it better though.
We were all
No.
getting rained on, so there was a little bit of a sense of relief for me that was like, well, at least
We
getting out
know
of
we
the
don't
rain.
have to wait and
Sit in
hope
the rain.
it gets better.
Yeah.
We should let people know we're
tickets though, right?
Theoretically, we will get refunds on the tickets.
Sure,
We only paid $20 for it, so it's really, to me, it's nominal.
And that
but
was 6 months ago.
yeah, totally.
It's too bad they can't just reschedule.
I know, but I
All
think
right,
it's
well,
too late in the
We
season.
owe you a concert.
I
darn it.
know, but it's
There
already
you go.
September, and they only do shows through I think
Yeah,
this
it's
might
never-
be one of the last
probably one of
shows.
the
Don't
last.
make up shows.
No, I don't think
she's
so.
retiring.
And she's dead, really.
Yeah.
Anyway,
She's doing television now.
it's true. Well, Christopher is joining us today not only because he's visiting, but because he loves Star Wars.
Yeah.
And today is our Star Wars A New Hope episode.
Episode 4.
Episode 16 about episode 4.
4, right.
It's our episode 16
Oh, cool.
about episode 4.
Awesome.
There's a little
Square
bit of
root.
square root thing. It's kismet.
Hey, we should let people know we're actually coming to them from
Oh, yeah.
the front porch,
I forgot.
or the Porchlight. I was gonna say the
Porchlight.
front, which is really cool. It's also
It
a
is.
record label.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
Porchlight Coffee and Records in
Yeah.
Capitol Hill.
Yeah.
It's up on really close to 14th and on Pike. And it's a cool shop.
Yeah,
It's
I
kind of quiet in here, so I
want to go
feel...
check out the records too.
Yeah,
Yeah, they got
totally.
really cool 45s on the wall for sale and a 45 player, and it's kind of neat, kind of kitschy.
Cute stuff. Yeah, I
Yeah.
like it. Totally.
Good coffee.
Good
too.
coffee.
Yeah.
Mhm, it is good, actually. Yeah, so we were going to talk Star Wars. We're going to do a little Star Wars trivia. And yeah, totally.
Well, all right. So I watched Star Wars, obviously,
Uh-huh.
but I did. I watched it again actually with the commentary.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, it was George Lucas, the guy that did the sound, and Carrie Fisher.
Well, that's
On
cool.
Blu-ray
No.
or no
On just DVD.
DVD,
Oh.
DVD.
Yeah.
DVD.
have to do that
Pretty
already.
It
cool.
would have been neat to watch other commentaries, but that was
Yeah.
all I had. So
Right
do they
on.
have other commentaries?
I'm
I don't know.
sure.
I found it on YouTube,
Oh, nice.
which was it had a little bit of fan editing to it.
Okay.
I fell asleep.
Um,
I wasn't actually feeling well because I had a rough night, so I was like, I fell asleep. But I woke up right to see the version of the fans, the Death Star blowing up, which was, it looked like just a huge gasoline bomb.
awesome.
And
Yeah.
it made a sound which in space does not make sound. So there's no air molecules to move around to rupture anything. So
It's true.
it's nothing.
Totally.
You could feel it.
There's a lot of physics problems with Star Wars.
Sure,
I
sure.
discovered this time also.
But maybe their space has air in it. I don't know.
Maybe it was a long time
It was
ago.
a long time ago in the galaxy. Maybe their galaxy has
way.
it.
It's true. They could have used up all the air.
Well, wait a
since
minute.
then.
Aren't there gases in space though? There are gases in space,
Sure.
and gases
Yeah.
do carry vibration.
Yeah.
But they
so
don't-
I guess if you're
There's maybe it would have sound, but have different.
it could be.
Yeah, like
Yeah, I'm no astrophysicist.
maybe like hearing sound underwater.
Maybe, but
Huh.
there's no atmosphere, so I don't feel like I don't know.
Because the sound is just a
We need to
pressure.
really invest.
Yeah.
Let's go up.
We need a scientist to be on the show.
There we go.
Exactly.
Where's Dad?
Where's Dad?
So
Okay, so do we want to just start? We took notes. So did you watch? So you were watching fan edited.
It was pretty close. It just
Okay.
they've edited.
They
it
just
up
made a few little changes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, like the end, the very end, and I think
Nice.
what's
Han
that?
shooting first.
don't
Keegan is
remember.
talking super quietly in the way back.
Well,
He
they
asked
had
if
Han
Han
shot
shot
first.
first.
No, I don't remember that part. I think that's when I started nodding out.
Well, we watched the 1997
97 is what we decided.
remastered version, which
Yeah.
then, while we were watching it, because we bootlegged it offline, and it didn't say which version it was, and so in the first few minutes we were trying to figure it out, and then we Googled list of Star Wars versions and tried to decipher which one it was, and I think it was the re-releases from 1997.
Okay.
Because there was a CGI that looked really dated, so it's not the new
The
one.
special
Right.
edition.
Han shot first,
Right.
and there were enough changes, but it had like CGI Jabba.
Jabba.
And I
Yeah.
think those were added new in the 1997
Did you see the
version.
actual guy that stood in for Jabba the Hutt? He was a guy wearing a fur vest. He was,
Weird.
yeah, there's actually Jabba was supposed to be a person
Huh.
instead of this slug-looking guy.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they changed it in post?
Well,
Yeah.
because Jabba in the Return of the Jedi was this
Yeah.
big ass slug.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Weird.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But they just cut that scene out entirely for the first one, right?
I think so.
But
Well,
he
they-
wanted to add it for pacing
Yeah.
in the special editions.
Right.
And actually, there's a scene where he walks behind him, and they had to actually make him. move
he
up
had
and
to
down.
float. He had to float up above.
Yeah.
him.
Weird.
Because when they were recording the first one, they just
Mhm.
imposed Jabba over the whole actor.
Person. Yeah.
So
How weird. Totally. Which that was one of the things that was really jarring, of course, which everyone says about that scenario is the difference between, say, what was the name of the guy that Han shoots at?
Greedo.
Greedo. Like the look of his
Speaking
face,
of-
which is live action sound effects, or live action special effects, where he has like a foam rubber mask on, versus the CGI looking other creatures. Like they look like they're just from two different universes altogether. It does, like, they don't mesh well at all.
Right.
And so that version is really jarring to watch. Because like some scenes, like all the like the actors are in this like beautiful soft focus, and then it'll be like a scene of the Millennium Falcon going through space, and it is like super sharp lines.
Crisp.
Yeah, and it just doesn't even look like
Yeah.
the same
Right.
century, much less movie. But
It does,
anyway.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it did bump. I saw that all that when they re-released.
Yeah,
those.
I went to the theater and
Yeah.
watched it. Totally.
I find it does pace it a lot better though,
Uh-huh.
just as a movie and watching it. Just it's not as quick. He puts a lot more exposition in pacing.
Yeah.
So, but as things kind of are added or different things happen, you want stuff in between those. You don't just
Uh-huh.
want to rattle off everything that just kind of happens.
Totally.
You want like empty spaces of not action but exposition.
Totally. Speaking of pacing, Christopher sent me this video that I'll post on our Facebook page. This is an episode 1 thing, but it's this, I think he's like a movie buff or a screenwriter or something.
Yeah, his YouTube
He
channel.
poses the idea, what if episode 1 was a good movie? And then does a 12-minute pitch of how to change.
Oh,
Have
cool.
you seen it, Keegan? How to change episode 1
I'll have to watch
to
that.
make it a well-written movie. And it is so much
It's
better
hilarious.
that you're watching it and you're like, oh, this is, like, I'm even a little bit excited about the
Yeah.
movie just hearing him talk about, like, little small changes he makes to make the characters make more sense and rearranging some of the action and stuff. It's really good. Anyway, so I kept referring to it when we were watching Star Wars because he tries to model episode 1 after the hero's journey tale, but instead of using Luke, you use Obi-Wan Kenobi,
Right.
and it just is so
Oh,
much
yeah,
better
yeah.
of a movie.
Well, totally. Yeah, Star Wars is totally about the journey.
Yeah.
The journey.
But then episode 1 is like, it goes on all these nonsense tangents.
Right.
And if he had just
Right.
stuck to a hero's journey,
Yeah,
it would have been
right.
a million
With-
times better.
Yep.
And it would have been shorter.
It's
Yeah.
true.
Because Obi-Wan even says in Star Wars that, I was a Jedi Knight. No,
Uh-huh.
Obi-Wan was a Jedi Commander. If you watch the Clone Wars,
Mhm.
he wasn't just a knight. He ran the whole show.
Totally.
Which is kind of what they just kind of blew everything up bigger than it needed to be
Yeah.
in the prequels.
It's true. So did you want to ask a trivia question?
Oh,
Is that why you're holding a card?
Sure, yeah, I brought the Star Wars trivia, just the cards, and thought maybe you'd have like a little pop quiz.
Totally. I love pop
time.
quizzes.
I've never played Trivial Pursuit.
Really?
No.
The kicker is they don't
Never.
have specific, just
It's a long game.
It is a long game.
Yeah.
To me, it always devolves into just reading questions, and you don't use the board anymore because it takes too long.
Okay, here's one.
Okay. So should we beep in using our names?
Yeah, sure. Who's the first rebel to verbalize that the Falcons' escape from the Death Star was, quote, too easy, unquote?
Oh my goodness.
All right, so
Read it one more time.
Man, there's
So
a
who-
huge question
who
mark
is
that just
the
shot out
first
over my
rebel
face.
to
Okay.
verbalize that the Falcons, the Millennium Falcons,
Uh-huh.
escape from the Death Star was too easy?
Okay, I'm gonna take a guess. I'm gonna say Leia. If I'm wrong.
No, you got it.
Yes, because it's
Yeah.
when they're in
Uh-huh.
the Millennium
Oh,
Falcon
wait,
and she's
yeah,
like,
it was too easy.
that was too easy.
Yeah.
When they're
Oh.
getting away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because, well,
I was
that's
trying
how
to
they
put it in
found out
context.
that they implanted a tracking device
Okay.
on the Millennium Falcon, and they went back to Alderaan or wherever they
Right,
were.
the base.
Yeah.
Totally.
So, and then that's how they knew, because that was the whole thing. They had to go blow up the Death Star before they blew them up.
Okay.
Nice.
Because they had the coordinates.
Cool. I'm taking another card and I'm going to screen
Alright.
question for later. So, one thing that jumped out at me at the beginning, or do you want to read some of your thoughts?
Oh no.
Okay. Have you guys ever noticed C-3PO's silver leg?
Yeah.
I thought it was like a thing. Because I thought, okay, so C-3PO has a silver leg, and you could only see it in like 2 shots in the first movie.
Right.
So it's kind of pointless to have it. But then, like, action figures are out, and they have the silver leg. And aren't they, like, worth more or something? Ones with silver legs?
I don't know so much about that.
Because I was like, oh, he has the silver leg, because we were trying to figure out which version it was. And I thought for some reason it was something that had been changed.
Huh. No, I guess I never really thought about it.
Doesn't it just seem weird that he just randomly
But
has
they
a silver
do,
leg?
like in the first 4 or 5 seconds of the film, when they're showing the droids, there's like a silver C-3PO right behind C-3PO.
Oh, so is that
Gold with
spare
silver.
parts?
I don't know, could be.
Maybe.
But it's about that lighter silver. There's like 2 C-3POs.
I want to say I read that he got rebuilt
Okay.
and covered with new shiny
He was
gold.
built by Darth Vader, though. That's like the whole...
Anakin.
So here's another thing. Christopher, would you like to ask the question asked me during Star Wars about C-3PO?
Would C-3PO... Here, I forgot what the question was.
We wrote it down.
Oh, would C-3PO recognize the name Skywalker?
No, because he was mind wiped.
Was he?
When was he mind wiped? We were wondering.
that's what we
Because
were
he doesn't
wondering.
It was
in 3?
in 3.
Because he doesn't remember Tatooine. He doesn't
No.
remember
But
Obi-Wan
R2
Kenobi.
does. R2 does. That's why he keeps talking about secret mission.
Okay.
So why doesn't R2 fly then? In episode 4.
Why is he?
Why doesn't he fly?
I don't know. I think that was
that's been
over.
bugged me, that the whole
Because he
Star
flies
Wars...
in
Yeah, he flies in all
the
3
other
of them.
ones. Yeah.
But doesn't fly in 4. He could fly away from the Jawas before they took him.
No, they ambushed him.
Yeah, kind of, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, there are a lot of moments he could have flown.
Yeah.
I always
Yeah.
think his little like tripod rolly things are very impractical for a desert planet.
Plus the technology for the special effects in 1975 wasn't didn't really.
Right.
Really.
Oh, for sure. And to George Lucas's credit, I was listening to the commentaries, and one of the things he said was that he really had to adapt the story to what they could realistically visually do.
Oh yeah,
It's like,
totally.
here's all we can do with what we can make to make it look that way. So here's how the story kind of has to go. So and that kind of
is an
means-
argument for not remaking it then.
Well,
In
for
my
sure.
opinion. Because then if you're building your form or your function to your form, then when you're changing the form, the function is what gets all messed up. If it's like, oh well, the story happens this way is because we could use wheels on droids and we could do a guy in a suit so he can walk. But now you jump ahead and you can CGI whatever you want.
Right,
then you have
right.
flying people and you have swirling Jawas.
Yeah.
Or
And actually,
Jabba.
What I really do like about the prequels and Clone Wars and everything else is the lightsabers actually emit light onto other objects within the scene. And that still bugs me about all three of the first ones is they didn't take into account that there's this beam of light that's coming out of this thing, and none of that light is coming in, and it's emitting a color.
Yeah.
So, but they do it awesome in like the Clone Wars and in the earlier ones, and even in the cartoons they started recognizing that we need to cast a light onto the other things. So it always just looked really kind of hokey.
Yeah. Well, I always thought, even when I was a kid, that the lightsaber seemed terrifying to me because I was like, what if it's like pointed at you, but you're far enough away, but I just underestimate that a little bit and I open it and it just like shoots through you.
Yeah.
And I like that always seemed like a recipe for disaster to me.
That's why it's a much more civilized weapon. You have to be aware.
Yes. Yeah. It just seems like Jedis would have like missing fingers and stuff. For
Yeah,
sure. You know? They like it just seems like
those
a really
ones,
dangerous
those ones tend
weapon.
to get washed out of the academy.
I guess.
Can you count to 10? That's one of the criteria. Can you count to 10 on your
No, I had a lightsaber. And then that double-sided lightsaber, like, shut up. You would kill yourself before you would kill any other person using that thing.
Missing fingers, you'd have missing limbs.
Yeah, totally.
Well,
That's
I think
insane.
for the most part, then Star Wars is just about, hey, let's come up with some creative characters, throw it into a heroic story somehow. And so
it's very Errol Flynn too. You know what I mean? Not very swashbuckler. Yeah.
Did you guys notice how awesomely flamboyant Han Solo is with his blaster? We were doing the Han Solo stance, which is butt out, crouch, with one arm over your head and a blaster out. He straight up Robin Hoods through that movie. Like every time he shoots someone, he does this like weird dancer lever. It's ridiculous.
Actually, he kind of reminded me of Jim Morrison when I was watching him together. He's got sort of a Jim Morrison.
Like with the vest and everything? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he's very rock star.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, speaking of like, why did they change into stormtrooper belts like halfway through the movie? And
don't they steal them from someone? Or?
Well, they were dressed up as stormtroopers, and then so suddenly now they have the clothes back. Which,
I know, I was thinking about the fanny pack and how it translates across genres, because the stormtrooper belt is
hero has a fanny pack.
It's essentially a fanny pack, and you've got like
it's like a Batman utility.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is they have fanny packs in Batman. They have fanny packs in Star Wars. They have fanny packs in The Hobbit. They have those little satchels they wear around their waist.
Yeah.
The fanny pack is like present in every different genre.
Fanny packs through pop culture.
I should write a book. Pop culture fanny packs.
That would actually be a good coffee table book.
Totally, like pictures of people with different fanny packs on.
Different.
Because we were noticing the utility belt too, especially when Luke shoots the thing up and then swings with Leia, and he like grabs the thing.
Right.
And
when
you're
you talk
like,
about the Errol Flynn stuff, that's totally where they're
It's semi-incestuous too, because they don't know that they're brother and sister.
Yeah,
and
well,
always sort of.
I want to say I read that George Lucas didn't know that they were going to be brother and sister until he wrote the next movie.
So he had not planned on them.
He said though that he had the whole thing all planned out from. I mean, if you listen to him, even he says in the Star Wars commentary that he had everything all planned. He just went into the middle.
Because it really doesn't seem like he knows in that first movie that Leia and Luke are brother and sister.
Right, because
there's so much sexual tension.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, but then there's also like sort of that competition between Han and
Luke
as well. So like
totally.
Especially when he sees the hologram of her coming out of R2-D2. Oh, she's hot.
I know, totally. Okay, I'm gonna find a question.
I have one.
Oh, do you?
This one blows me away. What rebel was originally slated to be a green-skinned alien with huge gills?
Ooh.
Originally.
Which rebel was originally slated to be a green-skinned alien with huge gills?
Ooh.
Really?
No, that's a buzzer.
I was gonna say because the
Wrong.
Ewoks were supposed to be Chewbacca's, right? And then they changed it from Wookiees to Ewoks because of the night.
It's definitely a Star Wars question, right? It's not,
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. A
So
green-skinned
it's got to be a
alien.
character from Star Wars.
I'm gonna say Darth Vader.
He was a rebel.
Oh, oops.
Uh,
What's your guess?
Is Han Solo considered a rebel?
That's it right there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know
I'm
why.
glad he
Wow,
wasn't.
nice.
I thought I'd
answer.
heard that somewhere.
huh.
Crazy.
Cool.
I'm glad he wasn't. 'Cause
Right.
then he wouldn't be so foxy and debonair. And
We wouldn't have
light on
Harrison
his
Ford.
feet. That's true. Harrison Ford would not exist.
Jar Jar Binks.
Jar Jar. Oh, it's funny in that video.
Every time
He
they
writes Jar Jar
show-
Binks out.
Yep. There's this big block over his face.
Yeah, like an X mark over Jar Jar every time they show him in a clip because they're like, he's not there.
You ever watch Robot Chicken?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you see the-
the Star Wars parodies are awesome. Yeah.
I like the episode where
I haven't seen it.
the Emperor is talking to
they're
Darth
great.
Vader on the phone.
Oh yeah.
He's
Yeah.
like,
It's like
he goes, "How long have you been out there?" And like, you must have like feet and bacon
yeah.
because he's all burnt.
I know. Yeah, those are funny.
He goes, "You're still upset about that Padawan Madame or whatever,
Yeah.
Panda Bear.
Right.
Why are you crying?" That guy's awesome. I like
That's funny.
what's that? Seth Green.
Yeah,
right?
Seth
Yeah.
Green has a new sitcom that I highly dislike.
I
Have
like
you
it.
watched it? Oh.
Have you? How many episodes have you watched it? Though?
I couldn't make it through a whole one because it has something that really bothers me, which is just people being shitty to each other for no reason. Like the dads are so mean,
Yeah.
and it like totally. I'm just like in one promo, the dad was like came out and Seth Green had like a girl over or something, or maybe it was the other one, Giovanni Ribisi. I can't remember which one,
Right,
but he was like, well, you weren't having sex because I didn't hear. Oh, I'm sorry, and I was like.
I thought that was funny.
For your dad to say to you?
But
No, I don't think that's
there's
funny.
just no boundaries there. There's just no boundaries.
Yeah,
The
that's
next episode was
to
much
me
funnier.
Is unfunny, really.
Yeah.
I
It
was
was
like,
about pot brownies.
yeah.
It was good.
I wasn't getting into the whole vibe of
My
like
wife really likes the
people.
Ribisi dude.
Giovanni Ribisi.
Yeah.
I like him a lot too. Which was why I like Seth Green too, but like both of them, I was like, oh, they're two of my favorites.
Yeah.
So I was bummed.
I really
out.
liked his character on Friends.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
He liked to
Phoebe's
light
brother.
things on fire. Yeah.
Yeah.
With the
Married
belt
his English
stuff.
teacher.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah.
Oh, he was so good in that. Totally. Anyway,
Right, Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Right. So okay. So
Okay.
my whole what they should do is make an NC-17 Star Wars. Just
Okay.
do a reboot and make it like really
Adults?
like just make it for adults. It's like not maybe so much on the sex side, but definitely on
Right.
the violence side, like 300
Oh, yeah?
meets Reservoir Dogs or something. Make that
Oh
Star
my
Wars.
gosh, that would be
Yeah,
awesome.
dude, and just over the top everything, and make it like
Maybe Quentin Tarantino directs it.
Like
something like
ultra
that. Yeah,
violent.
but not ultra, but realistic. Okay,
Yeah.
these are laser battles and people are dying, and there's
Because having it have a child like audience, like especially in the first 3 episodes, episode 1, 2, 3, stuff happens in it that is really upsetting.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they kind of gloss over it because it's like a
And-
PG-13 thing.
Right.
But like Darth Vader like
beheadings.
murders an entire village
Yeah,
of women and
totally,
children,
totally.
and you're like,
I mean, that would
and then
Yeah, same people.
Amidala is like, oh, but I still love you, and you're like, dude, she knows that he killed a whole village of
be. And you could also do different
It's really
things,
messed
like
up.
if you want to do like Battlestar Galactica, made like Starbuck
Oh.
of Woman or something. Mix up the characters a little too.
That would be cool.
But,
Disney won't do that though. They're
Oh,
going to
heck
even
no,
more
no.
Pirates of the Caribbean it up, It'll
but there-
be
but
glossier
it's
and
just gonna
have
be a
more
whole
stage
different
combat.
non-thing though. It's going to be Because they're jumping it way ahead in the future. They're not going to follow what happens the next week after.
That's true.
Han burns his dad or whatever. Luke burns his dad.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would like to see some offshoot movies of some of the characters, like
that would be cool.
like I would like to see General Grievous get his own movie.
I'd like to see Han Solo get his own
movie. Yeah, I'd like to see the
Han
backstory
Solo
of how he got the
like the Han Solo Chronicles,
The
and
Han
it's
Solo
his
totally.
mercenary days before meeting the guys.
Yeah, because
that would be
actually,
cool.
there's
I would dig
no.
that.
I actually made notes about Han's arc. All right, that's my biggest beef with this movie. And I know there's no arc for Han because he's the helper. He's not the main character. This is not the movie about Han.
Right.
But he has no arc. He's not involved. He's in it for himself. He's myself, and oh wait, no, I guess I'll come help you. It's that whole we're just gonna make it happen. And there's no sort of thing that motivates him to go like, oh, maybe I should come back and help these guys. He's just totally just a flip, and it's like there's no arc of him.
That's true. Because really, he has no. I mean, theoretically, he's run into rebels before and has never gotten involved. So why is this any different?
But that would make it. You got to have that about every switch thing that you do in movies.
It's true.
I mean, if you're not going to show that, then it's just a Waterworld sort of ending.
Right. Well, and I was mentioning too to Christopher when Luke gets in the X-wing fighter with R2. He is so nostalgic about R2. He's like, this droid and I have been through things.
Okay.
And I was like, they've been through a little bit, but like, he was so nostalgic. I'm like, really? That was just the last week of your life? Like, really? You guys haven't? It was weird, a weird emotional jump into the future for me.
Why put the emotional? The droids carry a lot of the emotional content.
They totally do.
Which is sort of abstract. Which I know you can't just explain everything, but how does? I mean, if a droid is conscious, then that should be, a factor. Because like actually in the cantina, where he's like, "Hey, we don't serve no guy in there."
I know.
And they kick him out of the cantina. It's like, well.
So obviously, like maybe Luke is being a little scandalous in having friendships with droids. Like, what does that mean in his culture? You know what I mean? If people are getting thrown out of cantinas, and that's perfectly fine, even though
they should have come up with like a slang term for those, junk piles or whatever they call them. Have like a whole like racial tensions.
Yeah, which the
can't. I mean, how can you show something that's manufactured to have a consciousness like that? Because it's like, what are they? You don't know.
Oh, well, I was going to say a little bit of different note, but the same thing about the cantina. A couple of things, if that's okay to you guys to jump to the cantina scene.
Sure.
In the remastered version, the cantina scene is much less interesting because they have CGI'd in wacky creatures in the background of so many things that when you get to the cantina scene, having all these creatures isn't that interesting anymore. And I think it's actually way worse because it used to be the cantina scene was like, wow, look at this crazy place. But Luke has been seeing crazy animals up until that point in the newer version. And to me, when we got to the cantina scene, I was kind of just like, oh yeah, more creatures. It was kind of a bummer. And the other thing that's weird about a cantina scene is there are no two of any non-human, but there are 3 humans. And that always bothers me about movies with creatures in it. That really, in real life, there would be a little table of blue guys and a little table.
The band. They kind of look, they were all similar.
Are they? I think they're all different.
And they have like big.
I think the 3, they're all the same.
Are they? Isn't there the big blue guy?
No.
Wait, we had the action figures of the cantina band.
All 4 of them are the same.
Are they?
You might be confusing
What am I confusing?
the band of Jabba the Hutt's place.
Oh, I am. We have the action figures of that band with the big blue guy. Okay. Well, I don't remember then the band. But it's weird to me that there's like one of each thing. In that thing, there's not really very many pairs, and usually people travel with their own species, and that's normal.
Actually, I do like the robot chicken spin off of the cantina, where it's just the guy that goes up to Luke and starts messing with Luke is just messing with the guy. He's actually just messing with the Tuscan or the. Gosh, what is his name?
Walrus Man.
Walrus Man. Yeah. Thank you.
That guy with the.
That is why I wrote the word vagina in my notes, because the walrus guy has that weird face that has a very genital look to it.
Right. But the walrus
There's the
guy,
word
vagina
It
face.
looks like a vagina.
the robot chicken parody of it though, he's like just messing with him, and he's like, because the walrus guy's like, I don't have a. Because when the guy that goes up to Luke, he's
got
all,
that
The
pig
guy
face.
with like the pig nose and the like messed up
My
face.
friend doesn't like you either.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm alright. Don't bring me into this.
Yeah, exactly.
And he ends up losing an arm.
Right.
That's hilarious.
You know, that's another thing that kind of, as the movies evolved, so did the lightsaber action.
Oh,
they were
sure.
it was very robotic and like fencing
We
type
talked
style.
about
yeah, totally.
Fencing style. And then it got well, it's almost like, because the prequels, they were more what do you call
Definitely
it?
more epic. I mean, if you
The
compare
battles are more
the
epic.
battle
Yeah.
between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan.
In episode 1 where Queen Amidala is like doing backflips off of things with, you know, or no, she didn't have a lightsaber, she had a blaster, right? Just things where they're doing all these acrobatic things, like double-sided ones and everything.
Yeah, so they made the episode 4 on kind of seem boring when you get into those lightsabers. Until they got to the Jedi, they started picking it up every turn of the Jedi.
If they were smart, if I were writing it, I would have written in an apocalyptic technological regression in episode 3, where like some kind of infrastructure that way, like in the future, it's almost like an Aztec thing. You know how Aztecs had a whole bunch of technology and then they lost it? Have something like that.
That'd be cool.
And then that would explain your lack of technology in the future.
There's like in certain things, if they do a prequel, they have better technology than the
Exactly.
stuff in the beginning.
Right, they never should have just went to the whole prequel. It's like, all right, the movie just starts at Star Wars and then use all the technology to advance the story as well. So you can take all those characters and then just dump them on the back end of Star Wars. You'd be fine.
Yeah, totally. It doesn't
For all
need to
that
happen ahead of
creativity and all
time.
that. But that's kind of what I'm kind of getting at. It's like they just create a bunch of new characters and make them interact. You know?
Well, and that's what the video about what if episode 1 were good. He talks a lot about the difference between saying, "Oh, I know that person," and mirroring story, which makes you feel a connection to the other story, and how that's actually more enjoyable for an audience than like, oh, well, he's building C-3PO, and like, oh, I know C-3PO, but it actually would have been better if it wasn't C-3PO, if it was a C-3PO-like character. You know, it's just better for an audience because it's not hitting the nail over the head so many times. You know. Anyway.
Not beating it to death.
Yes, it's true. I'm trying to find a good question.
Question.
Okay, let's hear it.
What ship's distinctive sound effect was created for A New Hope by mixing the whine of car tires on a wet road with the trumpet of an elephant?
What ship?
Yep.
TIE Fighter.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Which brings me to Scott's shirt, which has X-Wing fighters on it.
Yeah.
Okay, so just let me nerd out for a small moment about space physics. There's no reason for those to have wings, right? Because you don't need lift.
Because they come in and out of the atmosphere. They go from a planet and then out, so there's got to be some lift to get them out.
Okay, so then the TIE fighters don't have wings that would create lift because they have vertical wings. So then how do they do it? They're more shuttle-like, maybe? One of the two of them is wrong.
Maybe they're not a function of the flight, maybe they're more a function of what...
I don't think they go in and out of atmospre, though.
That much.
The TIE fighters?
Would you see any on
The
the
Death Star
Endor?
doesn't have an atmosphere.
I don't remember.
The Death Star doesn't have an atmosphere.
The Death Star does not have
That's
an atmosphere.
where they came from.
So then they just launch... Why would you have vertical wings, though? Like, what purpose could that possibly serve? They are cool.
They are cool.
But I feel like it limits
blind
vision.
spots.
Well, maybe they're functioning like a force field or something.
Maybe.
Because they do have,
It seems
force
that
field
it's where they
generators,
lose
so-
one, they instantly spin out of control.
That's true.
right.
They just,
Maybe they're a gyroscope of some kind and the
Maybe.
wings stabilize? I don't know. Probably not. Anyway, there was much discussion about, first of all, we couldn't remember the name of the TIE fighters.
What does TIE stand for?
I thought it was The shape of a tie.
No.
What does tie stand for? No, I seriously thought that.
TIE.
It's
TIE.
Bow tie pasta.
I know that's what I
That's an
thought
acronym.
it was because it looked like a tie, like a TIE.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
It's twin ion engine,
It's a ball in the middle and
like
the
a bow
wings.
tie.
It looks like a bow tie. Sorry, what were you?
Twin
What
ion engine.
Yeah, twin ion engine. Yeah.
So are those side wings their engines?
I
Twin.
don't know. No.
Basically, the ion engine is powered by like any.
Solar panels. So
Yeah,
maybe
solar
solar.
panels.
Maybe they're solar panels.
That doesn't make any
Nah,
sense.
it doesn't.
That's my argument. That was my argument. That my friend Sam's argument for why they didn't use TIE fighters on Hoth instead of giant camels.
They use giant camels.
Camels.
Yeah. I thought for some reason, I guess I just assumed they didn't use planes on Hoth because they were on the ground.
Well,
but I guess do they use
they
the
had
TIE fighters with other ground fights?
I don't know.
I don't know. That's what I assumed was that it was on the ground and so
No,
they
there
used
was,
those
they only
camels.
used them in space, as far as I
Yeah.
can remember.
Crazy.
But with the stories, lots of Russians.
I know. We almost watched Empire Strikes Back though.
That's my
We're-
favorite.
Because
doing
it's a
that
good one.
next.
Yeah, oh for sure. Okay, let me see. I'm trying
I got
to.
it.
Okay,
It's
cool.
real easy too. It's the only Star Wars one on here. Who takes one look at the Millennium Falcon and tells Han, "You came in that thing. You're braver than I thought."
Obi-Wan.
And,
Is
Oh.
Luke Skywalker?
Leia.
yeah.
Okay.
Nice. That does sound like a snarky Leia line.
Yeah.
She gives
Yeah,
it. She's like zing, zing, zing. Like she's all about the sassy.
Yeah,
I
she's
appreciate that. Which Christopher was saying. Well, Christopher, tell me who you think the most badass character in Star Wars is.
I said the most badass character in Star Wars was R2-D2.
That's actually who the
Agreeable.
movie is about. The
Is it
badass girl.
R2-D2's story?
Yeah,
think so?
actually,
'Cause
George Lucas has
he's-
actually admits that. Okay, because
Oh.
he took Star Wars from what the Japanese
'Cause he's
stories
definitely
was.
the catalyst.
Right.
Yeah.
From what he says, he liked how he was immersed into a world that he didn't know about, but he still kind of got. And so he adapted that to Star Wars. So like, let's make this a fantastical world. And in some of those stories, they tell an epic tale, but from the point of view of one of the least characters in that world.
Huh,
So
okay.
that was the whole. So R2 is kind of one of the main characters. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Because he's the one who drives all of the action in A New Hope. Every single thing
Yeah,
that
pretty
happens
much,
for the
yeah.
first half of the
Right.
movie
Oh, yeah.
is R2 ignoring everything going on and going, oh, but there's something going on you guys don't know about. I'm going to go get it done. And everyone involved is like reacting to it. And if he wasn't there, none of it would have happened.
Sure.
So,
Well, he's also they bring him in. He's tied in through. He's
he's
constant.
in everything pretty
Yeah.
consistently.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Well, I guess you have to define badass.
Yeah.
Because Chewbacca's a character.
Chewbacca's pretty badass.
Yeah.
I was saying Leia was pretty badass, especially
Yeah,
in the
oh,
trash
yeah, well,
compactor scene
yeah.
where she
Oh,
just
sure,
like
sure.
shoots and like leaps
Oh,
through.
man, I can really tell she's not wearing a bra in that scene. I had to slow it down there. No, she's not.
No, she's definitely not.
But speaking of, it's like, why are there so few women in Star Wars too? I know they may try to make up for it in prequels. when
They
all
do.
kinds of women, which is
We
great.
talked about
We
that.
were talking
It's
about
like-
the gender bias
Yeah,
inherent
it's
in
like-
Jedi
so,
religion.
yeah, there's not even female-looking stormtroopers, you know?
Yeah,
Which, I don't know.
they're all in masks.
Well, because they're
Right,
clones,
but
right?
their bodies, I mean, you can make a female-looking body type.
Aren't they
Throw
clones,
hands up a little
though?
bit, huh?
Aren't they clones?
Right. Why not for women clean too? Right?
That's true.
They lost their accent somewhere along the way, though.
They totally did.
Yeah.
A lot of people in A New Hope have fancy accents.
Yeah, Leia had a
Even
slight
just like
English.
a very posh, actorly
Yes.
voice from that era. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, what's his face? The guy we kept reading his name, the general, the old British guy, Peter Cushing.
Oh.
You know, the second in command.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that his name? Yeah, totally. He's a very classically trained
Oh, yeah,
actor, and he
yeah.
has that Orson Welles voice,
Right.
which is so fun to listen to.
Guinness.
It doesn't exist anymore.
Guinness.
Oh yeah, totally, for sure. He's great.
Yeah.
He's really, and actually, like, to Ewan McGregor's credit, he does a pretty good job of mirroring that
Yeah.
in the first
Yeah,
three.
he's very honorable.
Oh, for sure. I liked him a lot in those, actually.
He started to
even though
look like him
terrible
too
hair.
towards the end as well. Throwing the beard.
Yeah, I thought it was really well done. But yeah, there aren't a lot of women, and there aren't a lot of women, like, even in the village scenes that you see in different parts of, you know, walking through town, or, you know, they're just, of course, and all the alien creatures, at least the creaturey ones, you don't have any overt difference.
Yeah.
So, like, the little, what are the little ones that grab the droids? What are those called?
Jawas.
Jawas?
Jawas.
Jawas. I knew it started with a J. I mean, some of them might have been female, but how would you know?
I think that'd be a cool Halloween costume. Actually, is just a full-size Jawa.
That'd be creepy.
Yeah.
It'd be pretty easy to make.
Yeah, an easy costume.
Yeah.
Totally. Just a black thing with some lights
And-
on your
yeah.
head. Kind of hard to see.
Totally. One time, okay, this is a total
Or
tangent.
have like a full-size head, so you're like a smaller body,
Oh,
but
that would be
large, so it's all like to scale.
That would be really
Yes,
cool.
anyway, sorry.
That's a good way to go. No, they sell those invisible masks, which are like a cloak with a black sheath that's opaque that goes over that you can see through.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
But-
Then you have lights right by your
Oh,
eyes.
that would be
so
weird.
that's
But
why
they
I
sell
get
those
they really-
masks. And one time I had a Halloween party in high school, and my friend came over in one and just walked in silently and like didn't make any, like, just stood in the corner of the room, and we were all like, who is that? And then we were like, that's definitely Tim. Tim, we know that's you. And we were like taunting him. And then like an hour later, she pulled off her mask and it was our friend Catherine. And I was like, oh, you were totally, because she's super flat chested. It looked like a boy. And then I felt so
Wouldn't be
mean,
weird.
and I was like, oh, I'm sorry.
Wouldn't be
You're a
weird if-
really pretty girl. Yeah, it was really, I felt so
It would have
bad.
been better if Tim had showed up later, just like while she was still in mask, or give you a text.
That would be cool.
Sorry, I'm gonna be late.
Speaking of which, you were texting us as we were parking.
I, you know, what,
Yeah.
That's
I was
hilarious.
expecting a red car,
I know.
and then
It was
I was
not.
like, oh, somebody's taking the spot. Oh, well, it's
Yeah,
gone
when we
now.
were pulling in, we pulled up and got like this perfect parking spot right in front of the coffee shop.
Yeah.
And then I saw you come out. I was driving, and I was like, "Oh, I think that's it right there." And then you walked out, and I was like, "Oh, and it's Scott." And then Rick got a text message that was like, "Hey, there's a parking spot."
Yeah.
As I'm pulling into the
Yeah,
parking spot,
yeah.
and I'm like waving through the
You know-
window, and you did not see me at
Uh-huh.
all.
No, it almost looks like a tent. And
Yeah.
you can't really see into the car.
Totally, that was really
But
funny.
then you're like, oh, somebody just took it.
Gone now.
I was
Bummer.
like, that was us. We got the best parking spot.
Happy
now.
accident.
Nice. Anyway, okay. So the other,
Well,
yeah.
let's get a question. Who's got a question?
I don't have any from. I keep getting ones that are all earlier episodes. I don't have any good.
You know, I don't have a. It's not a question on the card, but why did George Lucas ever say why he started from episode 4? That's one thing that's always puzzled me.
Yeah. If you watch the Star Wars commentary, it goes
Okay.
into that.
He does.
What does he say?
And actually, there's that bonus disc of when you buy the trilogy all together, you get like a 4th bonus disc.
Did we get that?
It goes into that a lot too.
I don't have a 4th bonus disc in my trilogy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What does he say about it?
That one's fine.
He said that, well, he supposedly had the whole story all mapped out, and it was just it got way too big. He definitely goes into it enough in than just the regular commentaries, but so he put it in the middle and kind of went from there.
Because
Okay.
they added the episode 4 title post theatrical release. I read when we were looking up the versions. That was one thing that I was like, oh, weird. They didn't have that when they released it theatrically the first time. It didn't say
Before it was
at the
just
beginning.
Star Wars.
Yeah, it just said Star Wars. It didn't say episode 4. And it,
Really?
Yeah.
Huh, yeah. I remember people used to have it on film. Like they would actually
Oh,
play
crazy.
the film of Star Wars. It was that.
So,
Yeah.
because it did
Even
predate
pre-DVD.
VHS.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and actually I remember one of, for math class in 5th grade, one of the, if we had a test, and anybody who did really well on that test got to watch so much of Star Wars.
Oh,
Because
cool.
they had it on, the dude had it on VHS. Like this was like, what, 80, 84, 85 maybe. Or no.
Yeah, I think that's when
82.
we finally seen it. The
Yeah.
VHS was 84,
Yeah.
85.
Crazy.
So,
Yeah.
but Star Wars was one of the first sort of movies that you could watch that was in
Totally.
a theater, you know.
Yeah.
So
We didn't see it when it first came out in theaters. We actually waited. It was like a couple years after it had been out, and we saw it in the drive-in.
Yeah.
And it was still playing in the drive-in. I mean, it was.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, totally.
It's
I
hung
saw
around
it
for a
too.
long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's back when you could still go to drive-ins.
And actually, there is something neat about that movie too. Is I have. Go ahead.
No, go
This
ahead.
could be a long story.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, all right, okay. Well, all right. So I have like very few memories of my natural mother, who passed when I was very young. She actually passed away right after that summer that movie came out, and I kind of remember her seeing the movie. But I remember the buzz about the movie. Everybody's always talking about the movie and
Right.
that sort of thing. So we were what, 4 at the time, 5 at the time? No, 77, so I was 5. That summer,
Unborn. Yeah.
you know, I was just
I was
5
7.
years old, so I remember
Totally.
everybody was talking about Star Wars, but I kind of remember her talking about it too. But you know, that there was like that, or a handful of the movie.
That's cool.
So
Did she like it?
I barely remember the buzz about it, so I don't know. I wish I could remember her.
Totally.
I know the movie came out. I was like 7, almost 7 years old when it came out. But I didn't see it until I was almost like 10, maybe almost.
Oh,
I was like,
wow.
yeah. So I actually have more of a solid memory of seeing it because at 7, you're still kind of fuzzy
Right.
on
Oh,
memories.
sure.
Yeah. So I remember coming out of after the drive-in. It's like, oh my god, this was incredible.
So what year was it? How close to Empire Strikes Back was that?
Well, this was like I was closer to 10. So it was close to 1980.
So because 80 is
79,
when
80.
the summer of 80 was when Empire came out.
Yeah, and then I actually we got
77.
Which we're
Yeah.
gonna save that for the next
right.
next podcast.
The first time I remember seeing Star Wars. We went to the library, and I want to say it was in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Oh, you saw no. You saw
No,
Star
I know
Wars
me.
in the theaters when we did. When
No, the
they
first one, though.
re-released it. Yeah.
Oh, when they re-released, yeah.
Because they re-released it. Re-released it in theaters a lot. And I remember
Yeah.
you went with us.
Okay.
But you, I mean.
Was I like an infant?
Oh, for sure.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah. You were super. This
You
might
were-
have been even in Pennsylvania. Because
Okay.
they re-released
You were
it. and
leaned on
50
it.
cents to go
Yeah.
and see it.
Well, I remember going to a library party for one of the either Empire or Return of the Jedi. I don't remember which,
Okay.
but when that one came out, they had a screening at the library, and they had a sidewalk art competition of drawing pictures from Star Wars. And I was so little, all I remember was like, "We're gonna see a movie," and like coloring on the sidewalk. But there were like all these people drawing these like Star Wars scenes on side black chalk at the library, and then we watched like a projection version of the first Star Wars at the library. Anyway, that's like one of my few memories from when I was very young.
Actually, I do think I seen Star Wars Episode 4 after I seen
Empire?
Empire.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I saw them in a
weird. Wow.
sequence. Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess Empire holds on its own.
Yeah. Oh man,
Yeah, it does.
it was that one. I think that's when that one actually changed my life.
Oh yeah. We'll get there. We'll get there. All right. Stick to the plan. Who's
I
got a
can't
question?
find any
You had a question?
I got one.
original one.
I got
Okay.
one.
I mean, I found one, but it was what plane has
Who's?
two engines, and it was the TIE Fighter. And I was like, we just talked about that,
yeah.
so that's not a good question. Anyway.
Whose last word in A New Hope was what?
Whose last word was what?
Whose last word in A New Hope is what? What?
So what is the
Whose
last word of whose character?
Whose
What
character's last word?
Question mark.
Darth Vader?
He goes, what? Yeah, it's Darth Vader.
Oh, is
Oh,
it?
nice.
Yeah, his last.
Yeah,
that was
because
his
he goes
last.
spinning.
Oh, when he goes
Oh,
to work?
yeah.
Okay,
Sorry.
nice. Very good. Alex is
Good
a
one.
cute. My wife, I scored big when I married her. She's a big Star Wars guy. As am I,
Nice.
so.
Even though you fell asleep while you were watching it, Alex.
Yeah, but she had
But how
the
many times?
lunchbox.
Oh,
She had the Star Wars sheets. She has Star Wars records. She's
Nice.
got yeah.
what's
the
the books are on
Yeah, they're like
record?
big.
Yeah.
Well, I have the scenes
I
say
should've brought
Star
one.
Wars.
Oh,
where,
nice.
where you change the page when
Yeah, and actually I'm glad I did
R2D2
because I might not ruin it.
Totally. It got what?
So I'm glad I didn't. I thought of bringing out some of it, and bringing it to the podcast. I didn't. I'm glad that I didn't because it
The rain. Yeah, totally. You don't want to mess with that stuff.
I had the actual the album, Star Wars album. I don't remember what happened to it. Remember that?
Cool. Alex, yeah,
It's,
yeah.
doesn't it,
Is it the storytelling one or the actual music?
You know what? I remember.
Because
I think it's the
Like
storytelling
the
one.
John Williams score, which every time I watch Star Wars, the score is
music
so
is-
amazing.
yeah.
Is it? Is
My first album was Empire Strikes Back. That
Oh,
I ever
really?
bought with my own money.
Wow.
So
That's awesome.
No, the Star Wars album I had, it was the desert of what's that? Yeah, and it has C-3PO and R2-D2 on the front.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
that has the storytelling plus some clips from the movie on
Oh,
it.
that's
So it kind of
cool.
intermixes the two. Yeah.
I don't remember listening to it a whole lot. I just remember having it, and then it got lost.
Well, we had it on tape, and we would listen to it for like when we would travel.
but I have the album.
Huh.
You still
I
have
have
it?
it.
That's,
Which
you
kind of
should
ruined
hang
it, 'cause
on to that.
And I
we
used to
memorize
play it
how
on
the
a
tape would go, and then the
45
movie would go a little
turntable.
differently.
Nice.
You know.
Yeah.
That's
But we
awesome.
also had the tape and book where you follow along, but they redid.
I loved those when I was little.
See, I have
Yeah.
both Star Wars
Oh.
and Empire Strikes Back, but unfortunately they didn't come out in an album with Return of the Jedi.
Oh,
So I
that's too
only have
bad.
the tape.
We had the photo book too. That had like the pictures of all the scenes and stuff.
Star
It was
Wars is
sort of like a
kind
coffee
of
table sort of
bad
thing.
because I got it when I was a
But
kid.
Star Wars was
Yeah.
very exposition heavy though too.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was like a lot about just, hey, let's make a neat world and put it on. So in a sense, for me, it's more like a music video
Huh.
where it's like, oh, wow, this really neat music going, and
Yeah.
you know, because a lot of the exposition and music kind of tend to make just music video. You know?
Totally. It's true.
Where they give sort of a different dynamic to a movie.
Uh-huh.
You're not just showing what characters are doing; you're also creating
Like an artistic. Yeah, totally. That's cool.
I have another question.
You have a question?
But the music
Yeah.
definitely made the movie.
Oh my gosh, totally. Like, especially in those like really sweeping scenes
Oh, and
where
the ending,
Luke is
where
still.
they're getting the medals and stuff. That
Oh,
was very
yeah.
emotionally,
Oh,
very, again, not a lot of women.
No, it's true. Just one. Just one. But the scene where Luke is like just staring at the sunset while he's still like Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen are still alive, and the music in that part, and it's just like so good. Yeah, because really nobody's saying anything. It's just music.
Right.
It's really moving.
The movies nowadays just don't follow that. They don't have that epicness that we used to have. And,
Well, our movie making, our viewing of movies has changed since the first movies came out. Average edit, like cut times in scenes have like more than half shrunk, like shrunk
Right.
to less than half. Or like they used to cut things like if you walked through a door, you had to show someone opening the door because like audiences would feel weird if you missed that. And like
How did they get
post.
there?
Yeah, and so like post music video actually, like audiences, if you show too much of those transitional things, we get bored.
right.
And so like the pace is just like sped way up.
Yeah.
But I don't know. To me, watching the slower cut movies, like this movie is a really slow
You gotta
cut
have,
movie.
You gotta have a nice blend. It's
Yeah.
like you do the nice slow things and the low things, and when
Yeah.
you're trying to build up that tension, you build up the story, you get the excitement going, you flip fast.
Yeah.
Like the battle at the end, George Lucas talks about how to make up for a lot of the lack of quality. So I think they just took like a bunch of models and kind of tacked them to the top of the surface. You know, just
Totally. It looks so
filmed
cool.
really close to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But to make up for that, they clipped a lot of quick shots together, and they kind of created that
So you don't have
excitement,
too long to stare at it and go,
Yeah.
that looks really shitty. Yeah.
Kind of like, I think that District 9 kind of took
Yeah.
that route too, where they're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
okay, we're going to really make this real, and you're only going to see a little bit of it, so you can't tell how real it's
Which
not.
is why the handheld docudrama element to
Right,
it
really
makes it work
yeah,
so
it was-
well.
Right.
It was way too much.
Yeah, it was long.
But,
It was
why
definitely
is that
the
a 4.0?
maximum of my tolerance to
Yeah.
handheld jitter cam. Yeah. But it was no Bourne Supremacy.
Right.
Bourne Supremacy I had to stop watching because I thought I was going to throw up. Because it was so much shaky cam. Yeah.
Shaky cam. Like,
Yep.
Like the
Shitty.
cameraman had Parkinson's or something.
It was bad.
Got it.
Yup.
He got his job through
Totally.
affirmative action.
We got a question.
Who's got a question?
I got one.
Okay.
All right, where to go? Okay, what's the farthest planet from the bright center of the universe according to Luke?
Tatooine.
Yeah. Keegan picked that answer. That one right now.
Nice. Do you want to know my favorite moment in the whole movie? It's Luke, or no, I'm sorry, Han and Chewie, and Chewie just goes like, does the Chewie sound, and Luke and Han goes, "You said it, Chewie," and then like they move on. They totally cracked me up. He's like, "What does he say?" He could have just been like, "My balls hurt." Like, you said it, Chewie.
Right. What a pain in the ass.
It's just so funny to me because they don't even really like. There's no context to it, really.
No.
And so then, like, for the rest of the movie, every time Chewie would make his sound, I'd just go, "You said it, Chewie."
No, my question actually would be for the next one. It's because it's an Empire, I think.
Okay.
It's because it's. I would like to.
Save it.
Totally.
I got one that no one will get because I have no clue, but it's relevant. How many massive primary engines power an Imperial Star Destroyer?
Massive primary engines.
I'm gonna say more than 3.
An Imperial Star Destroyer?
Yes.
16.
3.
Oh, I said more than 3, but I should have stuck with 3.
Yeah.
How do we know that? How would we? Would just
Because
observing
it's
the
when,
ships?
when they fly over you and then they're to continue going. How many blue fires of flame are coming out of your ship?
Gotcha.
Pretty
Okay.
much.
Is that the one you see at the beginning where it goes on and on?
where they're
In
overtaking
Spaceballs, they
the-
do that really funny
Oh,
scene
yeah.
where it just goes on forever
for
and
sure.
ever.
Oh, we should do it at Spaceballs.
I love Spaceballs. Well, that's what I kind of wanted to do, but I didn't have a lot of time. Was watch some of the
There we
parodies.
go. Yeah, we'll do a
And-
parodies.
yeah, that
episode.
would
Then
be
we'll watch
fun.
do the Family Guy parodies.
I wanted
and-
that was
those are the
specifically.
best.
I love them, and so I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I was thinking about watching them, and then we ran out of time.
Sure.
Here's a good one.
Okay.
How many forms of communication does C3PO? See, you read this one already.
No,
you 6 million.
Which brings me to a point. It's
Oh.
like, okay, so he has 6 million different forms of communication, right?
Uh-huh.
But when he's on Bocce, or when he's on Tatooine and being sold to the uncle, he's like, do you speak Bocce? And he's like, oh, it's like a second language to me. Out of 6 million different languages,
but I think he's
Bocce
being funny.
is the second language. Oh, really?
Well, I think C3PO has a sense of humor
Huh.
because in that scene
Okay,
he's
okay.
trying to get bought by the nice family.
I think he's trying to kiss his
I
ass.
see.
Totally, he's
Okay,
like,
okay.
I know all about this. Like he is selling himself.
Okay, all
don't
right,
you
all
think?
right. Good, sure,
Yeah.
sure. Good.
I think he is
Yeah.
because he's
That's fair.
so buttering
Okay,
him
sure.
up.
He had,
C3PO is
if he had lips, he was so kissy.
C3PO is British.
I know it makes no
Yeah.
sense, right?
Right. Well, I guess he also talks about that in the commentary where initially he did Anthony Perkins or Anthony.
Or not
Whatever his
Anthony
name
Perkins.
is.
That's
Yeah.
Psycho.
Right. It's Anthony something.
Jordan
Damn it.
Bates.
Anthony Daniels.
Oh,
is his
okay.
name. But he was not slated to do the voice, but because he did the voice so often,
They just got used to
they
it.
just got used to
Yeah,
it.
it works so well as the like butler type persona.
Yeah.
It,
Well, that's
I
what
can't
happened
imagine.
to the seamstress in Incredibles as well. The
Oh,
one,
really?
Yeah. They had just a sub in do the voice.
Weird.
And
And
he
they were
just
like,
did it. Yeah, that's why she's
We're
not
used
someone
to it
famous
now.
or.
How funny!
Yeah, they just
I
liked
love
it so
that
much.
movie.
Yeah.
I love that character too.
Incredible.
She's so
Awesome.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
It's on my top 2.
Yeah, definitely. You got another question, Scott?
No.
You look like it. Oh,
Speaking of
Chewbacca. Oh, oh, awesome! There's a guy with like super long hair, steady behind us. I love
wanna do
Chewbacca.
a shirt that is Chewbacca for the win.
For the win?
Yeah.
Totally. I like
just
that.
have him like dominating or something.
Nice.
Because it's like you want to let him win, otherwise you will
Otherwise, he rips your arms off.
Yeah.
And there were some. I think they have. I'm waiting because I haven't watched Empire and Return of the Jedi recently. But I think they don't get the scale of Chewbacca the same as they move forward, because in A New Hope, he is twice as tall as everyone else. He's very large, and I don't remember him being that large in the other movies.
Peter Mayhew, is that the name?
That sounds right.
Yeah.
No, I'm a little.
But when he's sitting, he's not towering. But when that scene, like the "You Said It, Chewie," Han is like here, and Chewie is he like looks straight up and says, "You said it, Chewie," and I'm like, he is fucking tall.
Maybe Han was standing in the hole.
Maybe he was. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
On the sidewalk,
It's true.
They are in space. Maybe Chewie's floating.
Totally. So here's a thing that I thought of while we used to talk about this in film school all the time. Whether Star Wars is a science fiction movie or a fantasy movie.
Oh.
Don't you think it's both? I think it's fantasy.
Yeah, because science fiction is all about bringing up the science and the realisticness of what could happen.
Space. But it's a fantasy that's set in space.
Yeah, because he doesn't try to go into why those things occur. It's fantasy. He wants to create a world of
magic.
Yeah, magic.
A world with magical
sword
creatures.
fight.
The sword fighting is very fantasy.
And the reason why he did more fantasy is because he refers a lot to the movie 2001, which is total sci-fi.
Oh, for sure.
And a lot of exposition too.
Right.
But because he wanted to, not really tell, why things are happening or how hyperspace works or whatever.
It's almost like the technology is incidental to the story.
Right.
Especially because they have this whole magical force thing.
Right.
Sure. Sure. Whereas, like, Star Trek is all about how this could possibly happen and whatnot. It's not really,
They adhere
use
to the
science
world.
to kind of make things happen rather than a spell.
Right.
The Force.
And even their technology has a fantastical quality to it, like creating a planet that kills. That's very like godlike, like creating a whole world.
Because even the prequels that are still fantasy, I think.
Oh yeah.
Because they don't try to, they kind of continue that. We're not trying to be accurate or make it realistic, in a fictitious way. We're just trying to make it wondrous and kind of fantastic.
And I think usually science fiction, there are probably exceptions to this, but the vast majority of science fiction is a cautionary tale about technology, which I always have found very ironic.
Totally, like The Matrix. Totally.
Really.
Like The Matrix is a total cycle.
Oh, and it's saying technology is terrifying and is going to bring the downfall of the human race. And a lot of science fiction has that, but Star Trek has a lot of cautionary tales because it's about keeping our humanity amidst technology, which is why the Galactic Empire, now I'm mixing my words up, Galactic Empire, the Federation, that's why they have these really strict, like, moral code that the captains go out and they the theme of so many episodes is how do we keep our humanity in this scenario? How do we keep our humanity in this scenario?
Which even the temptation have humanity in Star Wars.
But without
because the temptation to use the power of your technology is so great that you could lose your humanity.
Without affecting the natural evolution of another species.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a super big cautionary tale. But I think Star Wars is actually not cautionary. I think that it's I just don't think that's even really an element.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a cautionary in the sense of, you have the Galactic Empire that's so big and a tyrant that you're fighting against it, but then that's very king-like, which makes me think fantasy.
It has a little political.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Which we then looked up. We were reading about the Galactic Empire and stuff because we were trying to work out the plot.
Sure.
I was like, well, wait a minute. In this movie, this
learning, right?
Oh yeah. At the beginning, the stormtroopers. It's like, okay, we're stormtroopers.
I know.
What?
Yeah, I was trying to work it out because I couldn't really remember how things were happening and why, and then it was like, oh yeah, this is because there was a Galactic Republic first, and then the Empire came up and they were bad, and then the Republic became the rebels. And then the rebels are fighting the Empire when we get to episode 4. And I was like, how did that? Oh, okay, gotcha.
Very convoluted.
Yeah.
So it's what happens when you try to cram everything into everything.
Exactly. You have way too many details, and then you're like, I don't remember who's good and who's bad. Anyway.
It's all but also it's a matter of perspective because on the Empire side, it's for the good of
Right.
you know they because the Republic they can't do it, so
I know.
we're gonna just take over and do
Even
it for
though
you.
in episode 4, the Empire is still really mustache twisty to me.
Yeah.
Because you don't really know why they're so evil. They're just evil. But then the whole story around it is, and that's actually kind of what's cool, I thought about the first 3 episodes, is you go, oh, well, no, they have a lot of history that's making them this evil. But when you look at just that slice, it's like, well, why is that guy such a dick?
Well, don't they allude to the Senate being finally dismantled in episode 4? I think it's on
Maybe.
they're on
I
the
stop listening when people talk. And
Yeah, there
They
is.
do.
Yeah, because
the old
Right,
Republic
because
is dead.
he brings
Right.
up that they're going to gain sympathy for the rebellion if you
Right.
kill the planet. He's like, no, I don't know.
We've set up
I don't
they set
even
up
know why
dictators in
they're-
each quadrant.
Yeah,
And they dismantle.
Do you know just through watching episode 4 why they're rebelling? Like what the rebellion is? Because I know, but what is their? Why would they? Like, there's no
I guess they don't
context to it, you know?
specifically state it. No.
Yeah.
I would say the context would be
Their
the
approach.
Empire has the dark side force and the
Right, but they're not Jedi. They don't use the Force. The rebels don't.
But
The
rebels-
Jedis don't join the rebels until episode 4, right?
Well, the rebels will like,
Well,
So-
within the context, I mean, we see that they were back there through episodes 1, 2, and 3.
Like in episode 3, that's where they create the rebellion, and it was but they had Jedi's with them. That's what that's created.
But we don't know that. That's what I'm saying, though, is like that those create this whole context. But we don't know that in
The
episode
rebels
4.
started with the Occupy Destiny.
What is that? You're making a joke that's too smart for me. I have no words.
Occupy Wall Street.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it started from that movement, and then they kind of all
There-
got together.
There's some
So
people
it's gonna
playing
be
drums in a circle
Yeah,
and
it's
everything's
just
changed.
the rebels. It's against the man. It's against.
No, I know,
the-
but I'm just saying like that.
Yeah.
That when you learn all this extra stuff, like all the kitchen sink stuff that you're talking about, at least you get a sense of like, oh, well, this is like a long, ongoing historical battle between
Yeah,
like
right.
who wants to be in power and,
Right.
and whether you want a democratic system or a
Yeah.
tyrant.
And
It's
I
very,
think
it's a
when
very
George
American
Lucas was
story.
really writing what could actually be filmed. I think he wanted to try to just make it as bigger
Yeah.
than it was, so that he alluded to a lot,
But didn't,
but didn't
yeah,
really
yeah.
care.
Was
He wanted that
Right.
sense of bigness rather than
Yeah.
actually showing the bigness. Which that's a technique that, like for 2D art,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of composition is you want to show as little as possible to imply as big as possible.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, but effective. you know?
Yeah,
So
totally.
there's that to composition, which is the sort of like what's not written into the story is bigger than what's actually happening.
Mm-hmm.
Which, to his credit, that's I think a good effective
Yeah, I think
means
so,
of telling
too.
the story.
Yeah, for sure. If it wasn't, he would have never gotten a chance to make all the other movies because people would have been bored. But there's so much cultural coding in the first movie that, like, we understand what's going on even though we don't get a lot of details, which I think is good. But,
I got my hats off to George Lucas. His name, the creativity or just the forethought to basically to not franchise but keep the creative, the licensing aspect of it for all the toys, all that stuff that the collectibles that came afterwards. It's like he must have made tons more than what the movie made.
Yeah, that's why he kept the rights to it. It was smart.
yeah, he was. And if you look into George Lucas's history, he does some really interesting things with. Did you guys hear about him like slating half of his ranch to have low-income housing built on it as like a big middle finger? He did it not to really create low-income housing, which I thought would have been awesome. But people in his community were putting like not letting him build a studio or something, and he was like,
right.
"Well, it's my land." He's like, well, then I will build low-income housing with the thing and like got the permits for it and stuff. And the city went nuts and was like, okay, you can do whatever you want.
Right.
That's awesome.
Because they didn't want a whole bunch of poor people moving in. And I was like, oh, they're such dicks. It made me laugh. Like, George Lucas seems like a real character to me.
Yeah, I still think he should have just said, all right, Star Wars is open source. I've made my money. Here you guys go.
I feel like he sort of has done that in a way with Disney.
Well, no, because Disney has the power to control it.
Oh, that's true. But Disney has opened it up for like, there are so many more Star Wars licensed things now that Disney bought
Still
it.
gotta go through the.
Didn't they have the licensing on the Clone Wars for a while? I think.
Did they? I don't know.
Yeah,
But they
they
own
did.
the whole franchise now.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can do with it what they want. Huh?
Which I'm kind of happy about that because I like the way Disney handled the Pirates of the Caribbean. I'm a big fan of that.
They do
so-
some good work.
Yeah.
I'm open to it. Like
There's no reason why Disney couldn't then still do it because it's open source, right?
Right.
That's true.
So
That's true. Yeah, that would have been interesting.
I would like to see actually them just reboot
then
the
it's
whole
like
entire series.
then you're totally free market with it. That's who's got the best Star Wars movie,
Yeah,
you know?
that would be cool.
Yeah.
And I know there are a lot of fan made like versions of
Yeah, I
it.
guess for the most part.
Yeah. But anyway, we're about out of time.
Are we?
So, I hope you've enjoyed. Are you going to say something,
There's
Keegan?
one
Yeah,
that was,
jump in there.
You talking about the fan movies. There's
Uh-huh.
one I watched was Star Wars Uncut. It's
Okay.
basically every 15 seconds they cut to a different scene of a fan made of 15
Oh, I've heard about that.
yeah.
So you get like a mashup almost of all these different versions.
That's cool.
I'll
would be
post a
great to
link
watch
to it
now.
on our
Yeah.
Facebook page.
There's
Cool.
also Star Wars ASCII.
And
too.
What is that?
ASCII, I think it's all text made Star Wars, but
Oh, weird.
just Google Star Wars ASCII.
That's cool.
They just finished doing Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, nice.
Oh, cool.
I would watch that. I think they allude to that in the the People versus George Lucas documentary. They make some mention of that because I want to say they showed a little clip of it or something. And I thought, oh, that looks cool, and then I forgot about it. Anyway, well, I hope that everybody has enjoyed our discussion of Star Wars. And we will continue this. Should we do it next week, or do we want to wait some
Yeah, let's
time?
have some time in between.
Okay.
Let's-
Because I have a lot to say about a Kelly Clarkson concert
Yeah, totally.
next week.
All right, thanks for putting it in there.
Oh, I love doing this. I want to do more of it, and I
Yeah,
think
cool.
we'll get better at it the more we do it. Because I have so many thoughts about movies, and it would be fun even to like pick a day we can all just watch the movie right before and then record
We
after.
gotta do our own commentary.
That would be really fun. I would love to do that. Anyway,
Do commentaries of the parodies.
yeah, totally. That would be really fun. We could do Spaceballs. Whee!
Yeah. Hardware Wars. You ever see that?
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
Hardware Wars?
Yeah.
No, I've never
it's
seen
like
it.
a flying toaster.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
I totally haven't seen it. The
Ham,
mixer.
ham salad.
Ham
Weird.
salad.
Ham salad.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan bologna.
Oh,
The Cookie
nice.
Monster.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
With the yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, totally.
Cool. Well, tell a friend, like us on Facebook, subscribe on iTunes, all the usual
We have
spiel.
listeners in Thailand and Australia now.
Nice.
Yep.
So cool.
Very cool. My mom listens to us every single week,
Nice.
without fail,
Well, I
and then
listen to
calls and
us,
tells.
and I have a little vested interest.
It's true. I listen to us also.
So I do plug us.
Nice. Cool. Well, thanks for listening, and that's it. Huzzah!
Bye-bye.